Hey everybody, Dave, Clint. We haven't talked about Marvel in a long time.
No, it's been a lot of DC. So many TV shows.
A lot of TV shows, a lot of DC. We got a Flash TV show starting next week. We're gonna review that real soon also.
Yeah.
But some random Marvel stuff has been happening that we want to start talking about. The first rumor that happened this week, is earlier this week, there's rumors that they're gonna split Avengers 3 into 2 movies.
This is not, I think, weird on a storytelling perspective. I mean, when you think of like the big events in comic books, you know, like especially ones with Thanos involved, you know, like they are like multi crossover things, multi issues. So that's not weird. But what's weird to me is like, you know, they make such a big deal about Robert Downey Jr. only signing on for 2 more Avenger movies.
Right.
So did they sign him on for another one? I mean, I can't imagine that they're going to shoot one giant movie and not get paid for 2 movies.
Well, they literally can't.
Yeah.
They're like not allowed to do that because that would be the best loophole of all time.
Exactly.
I think it's just sort of a semantic thing about splitting Avengers 3 into 2 movies, because I understand why they split the last Harry Potter into 2 movies.
Yeah.
I understand why they split Hunger Games into 2 movies, because you're expanding that franchise. You're extending the life of that franchise. Marvel doesn't have that problem.
I think it might just be the fact that it's like, listen, Avengers 3 and 4, it's going to run into the next one.
Right.
It's going to be a direct sequel with the same characters and the same thing happening right after.
Sure.
This to me was actually really exciting news, because this means that, you know, maybe they'll, you know, have this big fight in the first movie, and then maybe the Guardians will show up, like, you know, in the second movie.
I can imagine that they've got this plan for Avengers 3, and they're like, you know, they've got Ant-Man, they've got Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
They'll have Doctor Strange at that point. They've got Guardians. You know, and thinking about like pulling all of them into this Thanos plot for Avengers 3, what we all assume is this Thanos plot for Avengers 3. It's going to be a big movie.
Yes.
And that's one question that I've always had, is like, God, that's going to be a huge movie. So it makes a lot of sense wanting to break it up into 2 parts. So really it would be like, if you put it in context of the other series that have put the last film into 2 parts, it's like the climax of Phase 3, Marvel Phase 3, will be split into 2 parts, is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, and once again, you know, Joss Whedon, I think, is the guy to do this. I mean, Joss Whedon being the guy who ran so many successful TV shows, at least cult successful TV shows, you know, he is used to being able to, like, you know, break up. Sometimes finales are like 3 episodes in the making, you know what I mean? So
okay, so moving along and touching on some of the things that have to do with Avengers 3, Robert Downey Jr. came out and said something else vague. This barely counts, but in terms of his availability for Avengers 3 Part 1 and 3 Part 2, he did come out and he basically said, like, look, we're gonna ride. I think he literally said, we're gonna ride this wave all the way into shore.
Yeah.
Like and so that basically to me says, like, we are going to wear out Iron Man, not necessarily a bad way, but he's in it for the long haul.
yeah, I mean, listen, this is the thing. I mean, he's a very big part of why this universe works.
Right.
You know, Iron Man is the star of the Marvel universe, and it would be really weird. I know he makes a lot of money off these, but I feel like,
And at some point he's gonna have to pass it off.
Right.
Like, he's gonna have to stop being Iron Man or Tony Stark. Probably just Iron Man.
Right, but what's interesting about Tony Stark is, like, youth is not a factor. It's not like Batman. Like, Batman at some point can't be Batman
just too
anymore.
old for
He's way too old, yeah. And so I think really it's just that match of, like, you know, does Disney want to keep on giving him so much of the profit?
Robert Downey Jr.'s future with the Marvel Universe is really gonna be the litmus test for, like, how much do they want to keep telling good stories?
Yeah.
Versus how much of a business are we going to make this? So moving on to something else, some other casting rumors. And honestly, I'm really happy about this, because I was dreading a Joaquin Phoenix Doctor Strange. I really didn't like that choice. I know he's a great actor, but I really didn't like that. It just didn't feel like a fit for the Marvel Universe. It really didn't. And this is completely aside from the point of my wish of Andy Serkis being Doctor Strange, which clearly isn't going to happen.
Daniel Day-Lewis!
But the latest name in Doctor Strange, and I say the latest name because I can't imagine he'll be the last. Of course, by the time this goes up, it'll probably be, you know, it probably will be Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, right?
But Ethan Hawke is now in talks to be Doctor Strange. So Ethan Hawke as Doctor Strange. What do you think?
You know, it's funny because it's not a name that anyone put on any list or anyone would even thought of. But I'm actually kind of happy with this idea. I mean, this is the thing. Ethan Hawke he's not one of those guys I ever think of to be any role. But at the same, and I'm not being mean.
That's the most backhanded compliment you could give an actor.
I think Ethan Hawke is really impressive in the fact that he only does movies he wants to do.
Right.
He's never really done a lot of really big movies. I mean, think about it, like Training Day was one of his biggest movies.
Yeah, he's not a big star. He's not a big star. What he is like, he's a veteran character actor who everybody knows and respects.
And also, he's been doing some cool genre pieces over the last few years. Like, he did The Purge, and he did Sinister.
Which Scott Derrickson is directing Doctor Strange, so that makes a lot of sense.
I feel like this is all because of Boyhood. Because think about this for a second, okay? Ethan Hawke, he made Boyhood with Richard Linklater. They couldn't sign contracts because there's like a limit. You can only sign someone for a 6-year contract. And so he just said, I will do this movie. And he went and every year shot this movie with his friend over a 10-year period. No contracts. At any time he could have pulled out.
He's got no commitment issues.
That's the thing. That's the thing. He's the guy.
He's a happy marriage waiting to happen.
Yeah, exactly. You feel like all the Marvels are going to sit around. They're like, man, we need some guy who's going to sign a 6-picture deal that'll do this same role for 12 years. Is there an actor like that?
And also, there's a chance, Scott Derrickson being involved, he did Sinister with Ethan Hawke, and now, of course, being involved in Doctor Strange. You get the feeling that Scott Derrickson might have been campaigning for Ethan Hawke all along. And so Marvel exhausted, like, their choices. And so now Scott Derrickson is like, guys, seriously, give me Ethan Hawke and we'll make it work. It could be a really good mesh of, sort of filmmaker and actor and script and all that stuff that Marvel has honestly traded on. Like, that's Marvel's deal, is they get talent in the right spot.
Yeah.
And so if this is a situation, this confluence of, talent that works together really well, that makes a lot of sense.
Jon Favreau is the reason Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man, because Robert Downey Jr. came out of prison and was doing a bunch of bit roles, and Marvel didn't want him, right? And then, Chris Pratt, no one ever assumed he would be Star-Lord. And now you get someone like Ethan Hawke, who, he's proven, people like him, but he's also nobody's really first choice.
And the other idea, that we're not getting an origin story with Doctor Strange, like casting somebody that we're familiar with as an audience, like we already know who he is, so we're going to be comfortable with him having been around for a while. So that makes a lot of sense too.
I agree, and I also think you buy Ethan Hawke as a doctor, an ex-doctor, and also we know he fights evil.
And most of the time he's got a goatee.
Exactly.
That being said, the one thing, and I don't know how often in this film it's going to come up, the one knock I have against the Ethan Hawke choice, I don't know how funny he is. And at some point, he's going to have to land some jokes. Even though Scott Derrickson is obviously not a comedy director, but the Marvel universe stays light.
Yeah, there's something oddly likable about Ethan Hawke, but it's oddly likable. It's like the cousin who you don't really hang out with, but you don't dislike them. They're just a little weird.
He's that buddy of yours that you'd never go have a beer with by yourself.
Right,
like
exactly.
You'd never hang out with him, just the two of you.
Yeah. But I think that this is cool. I think Joaquin was never gonna get off the pot.
He never had a chance to make it in the Marvel universe. I'm sure he would have been a fantastic Doctor Strange because he's a fantastic actor, but I just don't see him meshing with the whole Marvel universe and being in it for the long haul.
And are we really in this time where people need to be forced into doing Marvel movies? People need to be forced into being in honestly, billion-dollar movies?
And that's why I was so surprised that they were trying so hard to get him, because honestly, if somebody's like, oh, I don't know, I just don't know, at this point with Marvel, they're like, okay, fine, we'll go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Because there are other options, and their names are Ethan Hawke. So, let us know what you think about all this Marvel stuff. Obviously, Dave and I are super nerdy and excited about it. So let us know what you think in the comments down below. Click like and subscribe. Come back next time for more movie news, more Marvel stuff on CineFix Now.